Did Coach Prime just confirm that Shedeur Sanders will be back for his senior year at Colorado? And what does Caleb Williams have to do with any of this? Let's talk about it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What's going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYr YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because I upload all the time. Now, we know that Colorado's having a magical season. They're having a great season. They're going to have a big time game this weekend against Oregon. We're all going to be tuned into that. I think that game will do between that game probably hit like 11, 12 million. I think are we thinking 11, 12 million for that game? But anyway, besides the game, because that's going to be a big one. It's at Oregon. It's at 3:00. That game could hit 12 million easily. I just more and more I think about it. They hit 11 million at a game that started 10:30 Eastern time. Now the average was 10 million, 9 million, whatever. But it hit a peak of 11 million in that ESPN game in a game that started at 10:30. I think the Oregon game can hit 12 million. On average. I think it's that doable. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about what Coach Prime, he recently did an interview with Taylor Rooks. Taylor Rooks, the Bleacher Report sports reporter. She went up to Boulder, just like everybody else, and she asked Coach Prime about Shedeur. And you all, I think a lot of you have probably seen that video where Shedeur, Shiloh, and Deion Jr. all went to the Broncos game, and they were talking about, potentially playing in the pros next year, which makes a lot of sense because Mel Kiper has already come out and said Shedeur will be a top 10 pick. I'm on record. I'm willing to tell you, I think Shedeur's better than Drake May. I think Shedeur Sanders should be the number 2 quarterback on everybody's draft board, which could very well mean you're the number 2 overall pick. But see how we're doing a lot of number 2s and number 3s, and people think he could be a top 10 pick and not the number 1 pick because the presumed number 1 pick is Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is the best prospect since sliced bread to a lot of people, and it's because the success that Patrick Mahomes is having. People think they're seeing a baby Patrick Mahomes at the college level, at the collegiate level with Caleb Williams. He's already won 1 Heisman Trophy through 3 games. He leads the nation in touchdowns, so he's the favorite to win a back-to-back Heisman Trophy, which would only be the second player ever and the first since the 70s, since Archie Griffith did it back at Ohio State. Now, here's what Coach Prime said to Miss Taylor Rooks, about Shedeur going pro. I just want to let you guys hear. This is fair use. You guys struck me down with the CBS thing with the 60 Minutes piece. So fair use. I don't want no smoke, YouTube. I promise you I don't want no smoke. I just want to hear Prime talk about Shedeur possibly staying at Colorado to play for a senior. So I'm gonna make it small because I don't want no smoke, YouTube. Let's take a listen.
Clip of you talking with your sons, there was a joke about, okay, what if Shedeur leaves?
Yeah,
what if he goes to NFL?
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that.
But in this hypothetical world,
yeah, it is a hypothetical.
How would you feel if he did say, I want to leave?
You got to understand now, you know that we're never caught off guard on anything.
Yeah.
And Daddy has been around the block a couple of times. So we discussed every possible scenario that can be had with both of my sons. Well, we're all 3 of my sons, because Junior, he's going to be up there photographing it and doing his thing with it. So we've talked about everything.
So that's good. I mean, that's something we all presumably knew. They've talked about him potentially leaving early, especially with as hot of a start that they've gotten off to this year. Let's continue listening.
No surprises under the sun with us.
So I guess I'm curious for you. What do you have to see from a player to say, okay, they are ready to make that jump?
It's not about what I'm seeing from them. It's about a whole lot of other things. Teams, position, round projection, all of that.
All of that.
Because now with NIL and who they are,
makes a good point.
You could make just as much money here as you can there. Excuse me, unless you one of the first 5 picks, but Shedeur don't want to be two to nobody. He don't get down like that. So, people projected him behind, Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams is phenomenal. But Shedeur ain't no backseat rider. He ain't, he drive his Maybach. He don't have a drive edge. He drives it.
I like that. So basically he's saying, hey man, everybody says Shedeur gonna be number 2, but Shedeur don't want to be number 2. And there's more what he's talking about. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What he's talking about is that there's more than just the projection. Obviously, he listed, the round, the position. That also plays a factor. Also, the rest of this year plays a factor. Colorado's 3-0. There's 9 games left in the season, and they still have 6 games left against ranked teams. Now, that's not to say I think Shedeur's going to ball in all of them. I think he's just a baller. Like, that doesn't matter. But the team's success at times, y'all know they can play a factor with black quarterbacks. Let's call it what it is. Colorado can lose a couple of games. Say Colorado loses 4 out of these 6 games they play against ranked teams. They finish the season 8-4. Well, people will hold that against him. That's not the same for every quarterback throughout the history of the time. Josh Allen was horrible. They didn't hold. His team was horrible. They didn't hold that against him. And this is a very deep quarterback class. I know he brought up the Caleb Williams thing, and that's why I put in the title, could Caleb Williams keep Shedeur in college? And the way Deion kind of explained it is like, yeah, because they understand that this year is anything that comes from this year is a bonus. Let's be real. Prime and the CU staff is smart. They're not dumb. They're going to put out a product and say certain things, but in the back, they're having conversations with their team. They're having conversations between coaches. They're having conversations with top players, and they're having conversations with recruits saying everything we do this year, this is only the beginning. We're barely scratching the surface. We're barely getting this thing going. And what I mean by that is if Shedeur comes out in this draft, he could be as high as the second quarterback taken off the board behind Caleb, and behind Caleb, that's always going to happen. Or he could be the third quarterback behind Caleb and Drake May, or the fourth quarterback behind Caleb, Drake May, and maybe Michael Penix, or the fifth quarterback behind Caleb, Drake May, Michael Penix, Bo Nix. I don't know. It's just it's a ton of scenarios. And I think he's the second best behind Caleb. I think Caleb is clear head and shoulders the best. And I think Shedeur is the second. But what about next year? And the reason why next year just makes so much sense, because I think that they're all 3 or 4, if you want to add Shiloh in there, all 4 of the gang is going out together. Shedeur, if he waits till next year, I think this is what I think. This is me putting on my Nostradamus hat. Their first year in the Big 12, or back in the Big 12, rather. Colorado's first year back in the Big 12. Coach Prime is going to take a team that has a ton more talent. This is going to be the worst version of Colorado. This year's version of Colorado is going to be the worst version of Colorado under Deion Sanders. Because by next year, with the high school recruiting he'll do, with the transfer portal recruiting he'll do, and with this resume, hey, come to Colorado. Your games are going to be seen by 10 million people each and every single week. Recruits going to love that. There's no way I'm not going to be able to find a Colorado game with the Big 12's new contract with ESPN. They're going to have Colorado front and center each and every single game. They ain't going to be on ESPN Plus. They ain't going to be on a Pac-12 network. They're going to be on the channel that everybody can find, because they're going to go to 10 million viewers a game. And so with that, in Shedeur and the talent that they're bringing in a weaker conference. Think about it. Who are the best teams in the Big 12? Texas and Oklahoma off to the SEC next year. So the best teams in the Big 12 are who? TCU, who the weakest version of Colorado already beat. Baylor, who lost to Texas State. Kansas State. None of these. Stop me when a team that you think is scary to Colorado. Texas State, Cincinnati, Central Florida. None of these teams are scary to Colorado and Prime. And so saying that, if you have a Shedeur, you have a Travis, you have Shiloh, you have Coach Prime, and all the new recruits to mix in with the old recruits, another year Dylan Edwards, another year some of these guys coming back. Colorado could run the table during the regular season. Let me repeat that. I don't know what their non-conference schedule is like. Let me take that. I don't know what it is like. I don't think it's that daunting, though. But with that team and that coach and this program and the way that they're flowing and gelling, Colorado could run the table in the regular season if Shedeur decides to come back. And what would that do to his draft stock? There would be no debate about him he'd be the undisputed number 1 overall pick. The undisputed number 1 overall pick going into next year's draft, to go along with another top 5 pick in Travis, and to go along with Shiloh, who could be drafted, and a couple of other guys that ain't even on the roster yet. A couple other guys ain't even on the roster yet. And so I think that is your best route, that you go run it up next year with NIL, Shedeur Sanders. He's on Super Bowl commercials already. Go run it up another year, make $10 million. Joe Klatt came on Colin recently and said Shedeur Sanders could make $10 million in NIL next year. I think that's on the low end. I think he could do 10 million easily next year. 10 million, that's easy. He might have made close to that this year. You go run it up in NIL, come out in the 25 draft with Travis, and now Coach Prime's got 2 top 5 picks in the same draft under a feather in his cap. And like I said, they all go out together, because at the end of next year, I think teams could get to tanking for Prime. I literally think there's college football teams who could I say they tank for Prime, because I think he's 2 and out at Colorado. And so Shedeur becomes the number 1 overall pick. Travis goes top 5, and Coach Prime sails off into the sunset at some SEC school. That's just my thoughts. So I think he pretty much confirmed, we're still going to take some lumps. We still haven't fixed that O-line yet. We still haven't fixed that D-line yet. We're going to take some lumps over these next few weeks, whether it's to USC, Oregon, Oregon State, UCLA, or whoever. Going to suffer some losses. But next year, that first year back in the Big 12 for Colorado, that second year of Coach Prime with a second wave of recruits and a second spring and a second high school recruits in a new conference that isn't as tough, with my starting quarterback in his second year in this offense. In the Big 12, they're going to run it up, and they might run the table. They might go undefeated in the regular season leading up to the college football playoff. And then Shedeur then will be the undisputed first overall prospect, the number 1 overall pick in the 25 draft. That way, the only number 2 that'll be associated with him is his jersey number. That's it. That is it, because he won't be second to no one. And that's what I think will happen. And they'll all ride off into the sunset. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. But the guy, Caleb Williams, he's just that guy. And everybody that was going to be in this draft class was going to be number 2 behind Caleb Williams. And that's just the facts. But that's okay, because Shedeur can come back, run up his NIL, and be number 1 in 25. My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsy Jr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. Like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell, because we upload all the time. Thank you guys for tuning in. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JLightsy7. That is on Twitter and Instagram at JLightsy7. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.